I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could I please, Dr. Jenny Jerome, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? But before we do the pledge, I'd like to take a moment of silence for all the victims of the massacre that occurred on August the 3rd. Everybody please stand. Okay, Doctor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Pam, all trustees are present?
Item 1.3 will be addressed later in the meeting. Item 1.4, approval of minutes, June 29th, Facilities and Finance, June 29th, regular, July 24th, regular.
I have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody here to this meeting tonight, especially all your staff members that are here with us also. Pam, is there anybody for open forum?
We have no one signed up at this time.
Okay. So go to 1.7, please.
Item 1.7, presentations by individuals, groups, and organizations. Item 1.7.1, Dr. William Zarata, College President, will recognize individuals who have retired from the college district.
Chair Haggerty, members of the board, this week we started classes, and so the start of a fall term is always an exciting time. This is also a time that is somewhat bittersweet, as we have a number of employees who finish an academic year and determine that they are going to retire from the institution. And so we have a significant number of retirees. We will miss them all. I will begin. We have a significant number. They're listed in your packet. We have 6 that are with us this evening. I'm going to begin with Dr. Gertrude Konings. Dr. Konings, if you would join me. Thank you. Dr. Konings joined the Trans Mountain campus in spring 2006 as a biology instructor. Her commitment to her students was such that she quickly took on additional pursuits to directly impact students' lives, most notably working with our Trans Mountain Early College High School students, as well as our traditional EPCC students, to have their research work become a focal point for a grant that allowed their projects in the International Space Station for experimentation. Her service to the campus was also exemplary. Dr. Konings started the Trans Mountain Campus Cactus Garden. She worked with biology students and physical plant staff to help maintain the garden and bring students into contact with the El Paso Cactus and Rock Club. Based on feedback from the community surrounding the Trans Mountain campus, Dr. Konings enhanced our PAR course identifying specific species of both flora and fauna at select points along the course with an interactive QR code system that allows visitors to gather more information regarding these species as they make their way around campus. Dr. Konings' concern and commitment to EPCC students extended beyond our Trans Mountain campus through her efforts in support of the QEP program, which she developed the Tejano Passport program, which helps students throughout the college connect with their community in meaningful ways. Work with the community is a high priority for Dr. Konings as a longtime board member of the Chihuahuan Desert Education Coalition. Dr. Konings will be sorely missed from our campus and college, though we have every hope and expectation that she will continue to share her passion for the Southwest and her love for our students and community while she travels the world with her husband. Congratulations, Dr. Konings, and thank you for your service.
We'll bring you all back up and we'll take a picture together. Thank you. Congratulations.
Next joining us is Mr. Adolfo Duffy Nava, the third. Come on up, Mr. Nava. Mr. Nava started working as a full-time instructor at El Paso Community College in 1988, teaching information technology at the Valle Verde campus. Over the many years of service to EPCC, Mr. Nava also taught at the Rio Grande and Mission del Paso campuses, where he taught ITSC and Education 1300 classes since 2002. Duffy was an instrumental faculty member at the Mission del Paso campus and served several years as discipline coordinator, new teacher coordinator, student government liaison, and academic computer services coordinator. Mr. Nava also participated in a variety of different committees, such as the Tenure Committee and Degree Plan Evaluator. Mr. Nava is looking forward to spending some well-deserved family time with his loving son Adolfo Jr., his wife Alicia, and his beloved Spurs. Go Spurs, go. Thank you, Mr. Nava, for your distinguished service, support, and guidance to the El Paso Community College family for 31 years of service. Thank you so much. The board is coming to you, Mr. Nava. They want us to greet you, of course. Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoy your retirement. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Could you stick around? We want to take a group picture.
Okay,
Don't run out.
all right.
We'll do all six. We'll do all six. We'll bring all six. Thanks again. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you very much. If you don't mind, I'll say a few
Sure,
things.
sure, Mr.
Take over the thing. Take over your microphone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for all that the school has done for me. It was an honor to be part of El Paso Community College. I know it's going to be very, very sad whenever asked that, that I was a member of the college. And I've seen it come from a long way. Lots of different changes have occurred since I've been here. Served at, started off at Transbound for a little while, then went over to Valle Verde, Rio Grande, and then finally Mission. I think that, again, I'm hoping that I'll be awarded the honor of being able to come back and visit with you all every once in a while. And I hope that you don't forget me. I know you're going to say, well, who is that guy? But all in all, it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And again, I thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Mr. Christopher Oatley, if you'll please join me. Christopher Oatley worked for El Paso Community College for 39 years. He began his career at the EPCC print shop, where he worked half a day for the marketing department and half a day for the print shop. Mr. Oatley later worked for the Publications Department and was an integral part of the Curriculum and Instructional Development Office, where he spent the last leg of his career. He was in charge of designing the EPCC catalog, the credit and non-credit schedules, and the commencement program for his tenure at EPCC. Chris was born in Nakuru, Kenya, where he lived till he was 4 to 5 years of age. He then lived in Wimbledon, London, till he was to the age of 12, and then moved to Germany. He attended boarding school in England and moved on to attend college in Germany, the UK, and finally at UTEP. Chris brings an artistic quality to the college and will be missed for his chill demeanor and honest sense of humor. Thank you for your 39 years of service, Mr. Oatley.
Congratulations, thank you for everything you did for the college.
Miss Margaret Enlick, if you'll join me. Miss Margaret Enlick began her career with the college in the spring of 1972 as a part-time secretarial science instructor. After that one semester, Miss Enlick knew this is where she wanted to be. Come on up. She worked part-time until 1978 when she was hired full-time. From 1978 to 1995, Ms. Enlick taught in the secretarial sciences discipline. She felt this was an exciting time for her because of the introduction of computers into the curriculum. In 1982, she earned an MED in Curriculum and Instruction from UTEP. In addition, in 1986 and 1994, she won the Trans-Pecos Post-Secondary Business Educator of the Year Award. Ms. Enlick also served as the district-wide coordinator. In 1995, Dr. Raul Ramirez, Curriculum and Technical Instruction Dean at the time, asked her to take over the Articulation Tech Prep project. The college was then part of the Tech Prep Consortium, which served high schools in 7 counties of far west Texas: Brewster, Culberson, El Paso, Hudspeth, Jeff Davis, Presidio, and Pecos counties. She and Dr. Maurice Ingram, her assistant, revised and expanded the project. Ms. Enlick held that position for 13 years, which during the last 2 years managed the dual credit program as well. After the funds dwindled in 2008, Ms. Enlick returned to the classroom, her first love. She moved to the education discipline and began teaching Education 1300, which she says has been an enjoyable challenge. It is now time to move on to the next phase of my life, time to travel and spend more time with my family. Thank you, EPCC. It has been a wonderful 41 years. Thank you for your love and service to EPCC, Ms. Enlick. Mr. Thomas Myers, if you'll join me, please. Thomas Myers began his 46-year teaching career at El Paso Community College in August 1973 as an English instructor. In 1985, he developed the anthropology discipline in the social sciences division. The first-year enrollments in anthropology increased, and Tom moved from the English to the anthropology discipline as a full-time instructor. The base anthropology course into Intro to Physical Anthropology and Archaeology courses were added to the college's core curriculum. In 1987, Tom developed the college's travel study program, which combined traditional in-class instruction, Introduction to Archaeology, Theory and Method, and Peoples of Mexico. This travel study program ran on several different summer sessions and included archaeological work in Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and the Maya archaeological sites in Mexico. Tom presented at national conferences of the American Anthropological Association and the Society of Anthropology and Community Colleges, as well as the Institute of Texian Cultures in San Antonio. In 1992, Tom brought the National Conference for the Society for Anthropology and Community Colleges to El Paso, where El Paso Community College served as a host institution. Over the last 34 years, at least 27 of the program students who are after taking Tom's course went on to earn master's degrees in anthropology, as well as 4 former students who completed doctoral degrees in anthropology, including Jesse Clark, son of Ron Clark of the college's arts discipline. In addition to his work as professor of anthropology, Tom worked as an archaeologist with Mexico's Instituto Nacional de Antropología e Historia, directing excavations in the Mexican state of Michoacán, Puebla, Oaxaca, Chiapas, Quintana Roo, Yucatan, and Campeche. Mr. Myers, you will be dearly missed. Thank you for your many years of service to El Paso Community College. The board, I know, wants to stay. And finally, Dr. Fidel de Leon. If you'll please join me, Dr. de Leon. Dr. Fidel de Leon joined El Paso Community College in the fall 1972 semester as the college's first full-time instructor in the foreign languages discipline. He earned his bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Texas at Austin and his doctorate from Arizona State University. In the fall of 1973, Dr. Leon created Spanish courses for heritage speakers of Spanish, making EPCC one of the first higher education institutions in the nation to offer these courses. Dr. De Leon later developed online versions of the heritage courses. His concern for students and rising textbook costs led him to publish textbooks for the heritage courses. These courses and textbooks are still in use today. Dr. Leon also created a flamenco student festival, presenting music and poetry from Spain and Latin America. During his tenure at EPCC, Dr. Leon served as faculty coordinator and district-wide coordinator for the foreign languages discipline. He has been a valued friend, colleague, and mentor to so many throughout his long tenure with EPCC, and his presence at the college will be sorely missed by all of us. Dr. De Leon, thank you so much for your outstanding 47 years of service. I know the board wants to greet you. And as the board is greeting Dr. De Leon, I know that the board is going to come down. If we have all the retirees can come up, and we'll take a picture. Mr. Garcia will take a picture of us right at the steps or wherever. Judge, we're right there. Okay.
Cute.
Okay, payment 1.72.
Oh, sí.
New people coming in. Hard to replace.
How many years of experience of going out and doing it? It's just
Okay, I think it's okay now. Item 1.7.2, optional presentations will be made by the presidents of the Classified Staff Association, the Professional Staff Association, the Faculty Association, and the Student Government Association.
Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing today? Hope really well. I definitely am. So, hello, members of the board and President Serrata. My name is Alex Rodriguez. As you guys may know, I'm the Student Government Association president. Alongside me are my members here within the Student Government Association. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you all to them. I'm going to go from over here to this way. So, first of all, is my vice president, Rocio Fierro Perez. Our Valle Verde campus representative, Leslie Lopez. And we also have Valle Verde Senator, Amy Solis. We also have our treasurer, Stan Goss. We also have our Northwest campus representative, John Signorino. We also have our Rio Grande campus representative, Kiara Magallanes. We also have our Mission Del Paso senator, which is Eileen Carrillo, and our historian, which is Alexis Avila. And we also have David Zamora, which is our Trans Mountain campus representative. He handed you all a cool little mustache pin. And pretty much this mustache pin, as you guys know, on Wednesdays we do wear, teal and purple. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of business wear when it comes to, all around the world that has teal or purple. So hopefully this does a good substitution when it comes to, for the clothing. So pretty much on a little side note on this, I also have cool teal shoes to help promote this. I went ahead and purchased these myself because I do believe in this message, school pride, and it does start from the top when it comes to this itself. When it comes to school pride, like I mentioned, students, faculty, and staff, and administration, we need to be prideful in our beloved community college. And I would like to encourage you guys to wear this pin to help promote school spirit. And whoever we didn't give, stop by and visit us in our lovely student government offices. We'll be free to give you one. And as you may know, last month, a little bit, side note, on a more sadder scale, early last month we had an unfortunate tragedy across the street. And now more than ever, there's been a spotlight within our city. And we do need to educate, our youth when it comes to the consequences and also our basic right as a citizen, which is the right to vote. As of today, 3 days into the school year, we actually registered 86 students to vote already. That's already 1/3 from the total amount from last year from Student Government Association. And as well, we're going to continue register students to vote until we reach our goal of 1,000. If not, if we pass 1,000, that's even better. We will also, now more than ever, like I said, we do need the younger group to come out and show up our vote in order to improve the borderland and also promote a better future because we are the ones that live the longest, based on science and all that good stuff. So, lastly, speaking of, change and everything, I did send an email to President Serrata 2 days ago in regards to the smoking policy. I know you guys went ahead and did a vote within your retreat, and you let me know of the result and everything from there, and we will be more than welcome to do that itself, which is pretty much contact our students and make them do a survey within if they want to make their college smoke-free or not. And to give you guys a little bit of education, starting September 1st, the age of smoking has increased in Texas to 21 years old, or 21 of years. Yeah, that sounds right. And it's pretty much, this is a little band-aid to our problem, but eventually this does not change our goal. We do want to make the campus smoke-free and the college in general. And last but not least, I would like to invite anyone that would like to speak with us, with student government, about anything, to help you out in any project that you might have, any program. Please let us know. We are very excited to provide input and make EPCC the best place to start and finish. So go us. And well, thank you so much for your time. And do you have any questions, comments?
No,
Anything?
just have a great year, and congratulations. Keep getting those people registered to vote.
Thank
Need
you.
them
Thank you.
registered.
Right. Well, thank you so much, and you guys have a good evening.
Good evening to the Board of Trustees, Chair Haggerty, President Serrata, and attendees. My name is Laura Gaither, and I'm President of the Classified Staff Association. On behalf of the Classified Staff Association, we would like to extend our condolences to the families of those affected by the active shooter incident that occurred August 3rd. Unfortunately, there were a few employees whose family members were directly affected by this tragedy. Our hopes are that all of the people affected, as well as the EPCC family and El Paso community at large, may slowly begin to heal. In the meantime, CSA would like to remind EPCC employees that we, in partnership with our law enforcement officers and the EPCC Workplace Safety Department, have and will continue to offer active shooter training during some of our CSA general meeting sessions, which are open to everyone, including students. This being said, turnout to some of these sessions has been low, either because of lack of interest or an employee not being able to attend due to the high demand of their workload. Therefore, the Classified Staff Council would like to request that the board consider making this type of safety training mandatory for all employees. We need to give all employees of the El Paso Community College District the opportunity to take the necessary precautions and training to be safe and keep those around them, such as our students, safe as well. We are confident that our Workplace Safety Department, as well as our Law Enforcement Department, are equipped to train our staff in other additional classes on rotating schedules, enabling everyone to keep abreast of any new updates. We would also like to suggest distributing an active shooter quick reference guide to every employee of the college. For example, there is a quick reference guide available to be downloaded through the U.S. Department of Homeland Security website. This recent tragedy reminds us that the risk of encountering an active shooter is real, and taking a few steps now can help us react quickly when every second counts. Together, we can help everyone on our campuses be better prepared and feel safe. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
He adjusted the microphone to my height because that man is amazing at his job. Good evening. On behalf of the Faculty Association, we would also like to extend our condolences to everyone affected by the tragedy of August 3rd. We recognize not only within the Faculty Association, but throughout the college district and our student body, we've had people that have experienced trauma in ways that no human ever should. And so it is with our broken heart that we wish you well, and we wish you Godspeed in healing. We also would like to take a moment to say thank you to the EPCC Police Department. We recognize that in a time where there was great amounts of uncertainty, including rumors that there was more than one active shooter, many of us reached out to bring our families in, and it was our police department that ran toward us. and chose to come on campus to conduct evacuations, to secure buildings, and they did this without knowing what they were facing. And so on behalf of the Faculty Association, we would like to formally thank the police department for their service to the college at that time. You are a large part of what is helping us feel safe in our community once again. Now, on that note, it is my unfortunate duty to inform everyone that the Faculty Association is struggling with how to deal with the shooting of August 3rd. A lot of people are feeling a sense of insecurity, not due to anyone's lack of great diligence. Of course, the police department, which I've already mentioned, the efforts by our administration to have our emergency response task force to offer resources and training to people in so many ways. We just aren't sure if what we are doing now is what we need to do, because what has happened has shaken a lot of our assumptions, and we're wondering if what we have is everything that we need. And on that note, the Faculty Senate and Association wishes to join with the Classified Staff Association to request that the active shooter training become mandatory. We understand that up until this point, it's been an opt-in kind of system, and it is our hope that everyone in their due diligence has done that. But we've also come to realize that there are people who cannot complete the training due to accessibility issues that the police department has offered to assist us with, such as making sure that all our videos are captioned. But also there are people who are unable to attend because of time, or unfortunately there may be those who just have not yet taken the option to do that for themselves. And while we would hope that everyone would take that step, having an assurance of saying this is something that we must do is something that we desire. And not just to say that we need to do it, but we need to continue to renew it, because we understand that as geography changes, for instance, we are building many, many new buildings, that our response to these tragedies will need to advance. So it isn't a one and done kind of approach either. We need to insist that as new technology, new buildings, new approaches are available, new resources from law enforcement, that having people renew this training on a periodic basis would be vital to making sure that our community continues to be safe. Because as much as we appreciate that our police did rush to protect us, we would also like to partner with them in making sure that we make safe and smart decisions that do not place them in harm's way. With that, we wish everyone well. We hope your families are safe, and have a wonderful night.
Item 1.8, communication, none. Item 1.9, Board of Trustee business. Item 1.9.1, discussion and action regarding the approval and application of the business packet for reporting changes, Form LBRCI, to the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission for 1309.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 1.9.2, discussion and action regarding changing the Board of Trustee meeting dates for the months of November and December 2019 due to holiday schedules from the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Move to approve.
Second.
What, for 1.9, I think there needs to be some discussion.
The recommendation would be November 20th and December 18th.
Chair Haggerty and members of the board, currently our schedule is the fourth Wednesday of the month. That would fall on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, as well as on Christmas Day. I am happy to be here both days, but I want to make sure that that isn't what the Board of Trustees would like. But should you choose to move the date, then our recommendation is to move it to the third Wednesday in November, which is November 20th, and the third Wednesday in December, which is December 18th.
Who made the motion? Was that you, Belinda? Did you approve it?
I move to approve.
Okay, could you amend your amendment to say that our meetings will be on November, what was it?
Okay, I move that we move the November meeting to November 20th, and the one in December to December 18th.
And you seconded it, Doctor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion? Call a question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nájera, Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Kind of wanted to see you guys on Christmas, but whatever. Just kidding.
Item 1.9.3, discussion and action for the board to pass a resolution to authorize the president to enter into an interlocal agreement for the college's participation and intervention in Public Utility Commission of Texas, PUC, proceeding related to the sale, transfer, or merger of El Paso Electric Company to Sun Jupiter Holdings LLC and IIF US Holding 2 LP, entities related to JP Morgan's Infrastructure Investments Fund, PUC docket number 49849, joint report and application of El Paso Electric Company, Sun Jupiter Holdings LLC, and IIF US Holding 2 LP for regulatory approvals under PURA Section 4.101, 39.262, and 39.915.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like some discussion on this item. Can I have an overview for the members of the public in terms of what this agreement is, what it means? I understand that the community college and a lot of the other local entities throughout the city and in the county and school districts do participate in the Rate 41 case. So Dr. Serrato or Mr. Ortega, if one of you don't mind giving an overview on what that is. In addition, I do have some specific legal questions in terms of what our rights, in terms of the college's rights and legal rights and responsibilities are under the terms of this particular agreement, the resolution, potential contracts with any legal firm handling it. So I also would ask that we move this item into executive session under 551.071.
Do I hear a second? To move this item to executive?
Second. Were we asking for an explanation from the legal counsel first or
Well,
after?
the legal counsel question, I want an
Those.
overview of what the item is for the general public, not to get into any of the legal issues, and pulling it into executive for some specific legal questions that I do have.
So do we vote on both at the same
well,
time?
I think we can vote on pulling into executive session right now. We have a motion and a second, so the board can take that vote, and if Dr. Serrata doesn't mind, then providing that overview.
Well, I would recommend, since we have a motion on the floor that has been made and seconded, I would like to withdraw my motion so that your motion can be,
Thank you.
entertained.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get a second, Ms.
I would do my motion, and if,
Graham, what's-
Carmen, do you agree with me?
But I'd like to have the explanation first, and then we can take it into executive when we move into executive. Would that work?
All we're doing is voting on moving the legal question into executive, and then we
Oh.
can come back and vote to hear the overview,
Okay,
Thank you.
yes.
okay?
Second.
Any discussion? Call a question?
And it was to move it into executive session. That was the motion.
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye?
Ms. Nájera,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. Now can we have a motion for the overview? Want to make your motion, Ms. Robles? To give Dr. Serrata to give us an overview?
Do you need
You
a
withdrew your
don't-
motion,
we
so
don't
we
need
need
a
another motion to hear the overview. I make a motion that Dr. Serrata give us an overview of this electric.
We don't,
Do I hear a second?
Yes, second.
do we need a motion?
Any discussion? Call the question.
Hold on.
Judge, under the circumstances, there's no need to have a motion for a discussion. The item will be taken up for action after executive session, but in order to allow Dr. Serrata or myself to provide an overview, there's no need for a motion.
Are you just going to provide the overview?
Yes.
I could do so.
I'll begin, and then I'll let Mr. Ortega jump in wherever I have any legal gaps, if you will. So Rate 41 has been in existence for a long period of time. As I researched this in order to respond, the first item that I found was from July 2010 regarding Rate 41, which In essence, it's a discounted rate that is provided to public schools, municipal and county customer service entities. The rate is closed to new service applications to El Paso Electric. The reason why it's coming up now is due to the pending sale of El Paso Electric to Sun Jupiter Holdings, which is a subsidiary of JP Morgan Chase, among other entities. And so as a result, we have to take action along with the other 12. There's 13 entities total that are part of Rate 41. Anthony ISD, Canotillo ISD, Clint, the County of El Paso, the College, El Paso Housing Authority, EPISD, Fabens ISD, Region 19, San Elizario ISD, Socorro ISD, Tornillo ISD, and Isleta ISD. This occurred back in 2015 was the last time that we brought this to the attention of the board. When El Paso Electric was changing their respective rates, we had to renegotiate with El Paso Electric to keep the use of rate 41 for those 13 entities. We as a group, the 13 of us, hired an expert in public utilities, legal representation to handle the negotiations. Based on the most recent calculations Mr. Lovato and his team provided for us, for our last fiscal year, rate 41 saved El Paso Community College $347,144 in the last complete fiscal year. This is why we joined the group in the past, and this is why we once again are recommending that we join the group. Some additional information, and it is quite lengthy, and so I'll be brief. This is, the reason it's coming forward again is based on the pending sale. And this is where we'll have to go in with legal representation to provide us guidance and to essentially negotiate to retain rate 41 at a rate that keeps us a discounted rate. The discounted rate is between 13 and 15% for us based on the latest data that we have available. What we're requesting is that we move forward with this group, and currently they are looking at El Paso ISD as the largest kilowatt user. They are the lead entity. And so Ms. Ceci Collins, who is an attorney but also employed by El Paso ISD, she's not the attorney for it, she doesn't represent legally the EPISD, but she's in-house counsel. She is the lead individual on it. They are asking to authorize a commitment of not to exceed $75,000 for legal fees, expert fees, and expenses in the matter. That is what we're bringing forward to you. We did forward all of the documents to the Board of Trustees as soon as we received them, and they are extensive and they're lengthy as well. So what you're looking at is for us, based on our percentage in 2015, if you look at all of the kilowatt hours used under rate 41, in 2015, it was approximately 8.67%. And so out of $75,000, we're looking at approximately $6,502.50 based on that maximum of $75,000 in legal fees that Hush Blackwell is the firm that has been chosen to represent the 13 entities in trying to maintain and negotiate that rate 41 for all 13 institutions to continue to go forward. Mr. Ortega, please.
No, well said. The proceeding that the college would be intervening in, if the board actually approves the resolution, it would be a proceeding that's pending before the Texas Public Utility Commission. As we all know, El Paso Electric is a public utility entity, and it's regulated by the Public Utility Commission. So there's a concern that perhaps because of the merger sale, that there may be an increase in utility cost. That's why the Rate 41 group was formed, to try to protect their vested interest and collectively pool their resources and intervene, if the board so chooses, to make sure that its rights are known and that they could assert their interest collectively as a group. So the attorney fees would be spread, as Dr. Serrata said, based on kilowatt usage by all the respective entities. The PUC would have, under the rules, 180 days from the date of the application to make a decision, but ultimately it's the decision of the board to determine whether it wants to intervene. So the matter before the board would be a vote to determine whether you want to enter into this interlocal agreement to form part of the Rate 41 group and collectively retain the Hush Blackwell Law Firm, which is a law firm that has been previously retained, I believe, by the college and the Rate 41 group in similar matters.
Okay. So we still don't vote on it until after we discuss it in executive session.
There are certain issues that I would like to address in executive session, and so we could do that.
All
I
right,
had
well,
some questions as well for legal counsel as it pertains to the resolution, new interlocal, and then the engagement letter with the legal counsel on the matter. Thank you.
okay. Move to 1.9.4, Pam.
Item 1.9.4, discussion and action to authorize the president to execute a certain option purchase contract with B&G FC Option LLC as agent for Release Enterprises LP, DEA-BO Holdings LP, Frank Financial Partners LB, and Tiberius Investments LLC, collectively B&G, for college to acquire the current right of B&G to purchase from Horizon Regional Municipal Utility District a 6.99 acre tract of real estate situated in the C.D. Stewart Survey Number 324, El Paso County, Texas, and located immediately north of the Mission Valley campus and adjacent to the west side of the driveway entrance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
If the board so chooses, I don't know that the board has necessarily been apprised of the negotiations of this specific transaction. So if the board would want to have an update on that, because it's negotiations on real estate, we could have those discussions in executive session, or if the board doesn't need an update, you could certainly go ahead and make your motion.
I'd like an update, just so that I understand I understand where we were at in terms of the negotiation, the negotiating position, but there were quite a few due diligence items that we had gone through. I want to see where we are and where we are on that timeline as well. So I would recommend that we do go into executive session on this under 551.072, property matters.
So you have
Is
to
that a motion or?
That would be my motion to move it into executive under the Texas Government Code 551.072.
Bunny?
You gonna call back your motion?
Sure, I'll retract my motion.
You second hers?
Who
Please,
seconded
you did.
Ms. Nara's
You
motion?
did.
I had Dr. Graham seconding it.
Okay.
No, I thought it was.
Okay, make your motion, Ms. Sanchez.
I just did. She did.
Okay,
It was on
we
the
have a
table.
second?
Yes, second.
All right, any discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Mahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 1.10, Board Reports. Item 1.10.1, Treasurer's Report, July 31st, 2019. No action is necessary. Item 1.10.2, President's Report. Item 1.10.2.1, Dr. Sarata will update the Board of Trustees and audience on recent events that have transpired at the college.
Chair Haggerty and members of the board, it is always my pleasure to update the board. I too, and the administration and faculty and staff, extend our deepest condolences to all that were affected by the August 3rd tragedy. I would also like to commend Chief Ramirez and the entire police department for the great work that they did that day. We kept the board abreast of all that the college was doing. Several individuals that worked diligently to ensure that we were communicating not only the Tejano Alert, but that we were quick to create a website to keep everyone informed. Obviously, Dr. Giron and her team did a tremendous job of that as well. I'd like to let the board know that I will address, during the State of the College address next week, that we will obviously acknowledge the tragedy. We will address what we did, what we continue to do, next steps, and moving forward. I've noted the request to ensure that active shooter training be mandatory for the college community. I will work with each of the constituency groups to develop consensus that we move forward. I know we heard from SGA, we heard from CSA, and from our faculty. We did not hear from PSA, so I'll reach out to them. I certainly concur with the recommendation, and we will continue to move the institution forward. The cosmetology department held a breast cancer survivors makeover day on July 26th at the ASC. The Power of Pink is a community project organized to celebrate the lives of El Paso breast cancer survivors. Participants are given a glamour treatment and receive 2 4x6 photographs free of charge. The goal of this community project is to honor the continued lives of each person, to celebrate their beauty, to create a heightened awareness of breast cancer, and to teach those that are newly facing a breast cancer diagnosis that survivorship is possible. An 8x10 photograph will be on display at the Bassett Place Mall and local hospitals with the personal message from each participant. The display will also be in rotation during the month of October, which is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you to Sonia Rosales, Cosmetology Coordinator, for leading this project, to faculty members Josie Cruz and Gracie Roman for their assistance with the participants, and to Dean Rick Webb, Dean of Math Science and CTE, for supporting these community events. Faculty Development Week was held August 19th through the 23rd. Classes began on Monday, August the 26th. Kudos to everyone that worked diligently on Faculty Development Week. In particular, when we had a water main break at this campus and everyone was quick to move all of those meetings, all of the conference to the Valle Verde campus. I can thank the faculty and the professional development folks enough for the great work that they did in moving that. Cannot thank Rick Lobato, Rick Torres, all of the folks that worked diligently on restoring the water on this site. Tuesday, August 20th, the Diversity and Inclusion Department held an open house, inviting everyone to their new offices at the ASC. Mrs. Chavez, you and your team did a great job with that. The college will be closed on Monday, September 2nd in observance of Labor Day holiday. The Trans Mountain grand opening is scheduled for Wednesday, September 4th, beginning at 11 a.m. We have a flyer for all of the board members. We hope that you all are available to attend. Professional Development Day will be held on Thursday, September the 5th. All faculty and staff will be participating in training sessions during the morning. At 2 p.m., I will provide a State of the College message here in the auditorium, which will also be live streamed to each of the campuses. The El Paso Community College Pasos program has been announced as one of the 7 Star Award finalists by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. Over 45 nominations were received this year. The winner or winners will be announced during the Texas Higher Education Leadership Conference on November 21st and 22nd in Austin. Congratulations to Ms. Lucia Rodriguez, the Director of Student Success, as well as the faculty and staff of the Pasos program on this selection. Kudos to each of you. In front of you, there is a copy of Borderlands, which was distributed in the El Paso Times this past Sunday. The piece is published annually by our faculty and students. It is the 37th year it has been published. Articles are based on English 1302, research writing and literary analysis, research papers on local history. This issue features a long interview with Alfredo Corchado, who is the Mexico border chief of the Dallas Morning News, and who was also the very first student editor of Borderlands in 1983-84, and a timeline of El Paso Community College's 50th year history is included. English professor Ms. Ruth Faiz has been the editor for 29 years, along with faculty editor Rachel Murphy, who is an adjunct librarian at the Northwest campus, and Samantha Lynn, student editor and former 1302 student. The staff of the Northwest Library are involved in almost every phase of Borderlands, from library orientation for research on local history early in the semester to the distribution of the finished product. Kudos to a wonderful library system and to the leadership of Dean Dr. Lydia Tena and Vice President Steve Smith. El Paso Community College offers high-quality programming and the best value in higher education in our region. Those are just a few of the reasons our students say they love EPCC. They also love our faculty and the experiences they have here. To showcase and promote this love for our college, marketing is embarking on an I Love EPCC campaign. In front of you, you will find a bumper sticker as well as a pin that I just dropped. But here's the bumper sticker, I Love EPCC. This is part of EPCC's newest campaign to show our EPCC pride. Students will be getting these when they get their new student IDs, and every employee will get one next week as we celebrate the State of the College event and professional development. Along with these stickers, marketing will be collecting more stories about the success and accomplishments of our students, faculty, and staff, as well as highlighting the many reasons why we all love EPCC. And finally, the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration will kick off at the Valle Verde campus on Monday, September the 16th. Chair Haggerty, that concludes my report.
Also, Dr. Serrata, Dr. Graham would like for you and your team to get with legal to see where we're at on our training for our staff that we talked about.
And we will. We will follow up. Vice President Shaughnessy and I will follow up with that, with Mr. Ortega and his team.
Okay, thank you.
And also, what's going on with our retired employees association, because that's been a long time waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 1.11, consent docket. This includes item 3.2.
Move to approve?
Your second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 2.0, administration, none. Item 3.1, discussion and action to approve full-time staff and faculty recruited in positions funded by the institutional budget.
Move to approve?
I hear a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 3.3, discussion and action on the appointment of new tenured faculty, reappointment of continuing probationary faculty, and authorization for the president to enter into written employment contracts and contract addenda for the 2019-2020 academic year with tenured and probationary faculty members.
Move to approve 3.3 and 3.4.
Second.
Can you read 3.4?
Item 3.4, discussion and action of the reappointment of continuing regular classified staff, professional support, and administrative staff, and authorization for the president to enter into written employment contracts and contract addenda effective September 1, 2019, with the employees listed.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 3.5, authorization for the president to employ part-time faculty and staff for the 2019-2020 fiscal year.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 3.6, information items, resignations, and retirements. No action is necessary. Item 4.1, discussion and action on the approval of a contract award to Dell Marketing LP for the district-wide purchase of computers in an amount not to exceed annually $1,064,400.
Move to approve.
Second. And I have a question.
Okay. What's your question?
So on this, the contract award, according to the information, will be for initial period of 1 year. And my question is, with the option to renew on an annual basis for up to 2 additional years?
That is correct.
And does this mean that they will honor the same price the second year as the first year, or is that going to increase for the second year?
Dr. Graham, I'm going to ask Mr. Gallardo to respond to that, if I may. And we have our Dell representative here.
Because you also have that there's a potential of a contract term for 3 years, but are you holding the price for all 3 years?
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, President Serrata. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Mirazo, the El Paso Dell representative, and he will answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. The quick answer is yes. So usually when we go into a contract like this, we do pursue renewal for the pricing that you guys got provided on the original contract, which is the first year. So we pursue that on the renewals.
Has the contract already been drafted, or do we draft it after the fact? Mr. Gallardo? The contract's already put together?
The contract has not been drafted.
It has not, so, okay, okay.
But the fixed price for the up to the 3 years will be part of the contract? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye?
Ms. Naheda.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 4.2, discussion and action on the approval of a contract award to USI Southwest Incorporated for commercial property, automobile, crime, and general educators' legal liability, law enforcement, cybersecurity, and school crisis liability insurance in an amount not to exceed $614,630.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye?
Ms. Naheda.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 4.3, discussion and action on the sole source procurement of advertising services from various radio stations for fiscal year 2019-20 in an annual aggregate amount not to exceed $200,000.
Move to approve.
4.3, 4.4, 4.5, and 4.7.
Point
Do we have a second?
4.5.
Second.
I have a question.
Well, wait, let her read each one, please.
Okay.
4.4,
Just want to
4.5,
clarify
and
4.1 through 4.5 and 4.7.
3, 4, 5, and 7.
Item 4.4, discussion and action on the sole source procurement of advertising services from various TV stations for fiscal year 2019-2020 in an annual aggregate amount not to exceed $180,000. Item 4.5, discussion and action on the sole source procurement of advertising services from several publication vendors for fiscal year 2019-2020 in an annual aggregate amount not to exceed $150,000. And item 4.7, discussion and action on the sole source procurement of outdoor billboard advertising services from Clear Channel Outdoor for fiscal year 2019-2020 in an annual aggregate amount not to exceed $100,000.
Any discussion?
I just, first of all, we have several of these that are sole source, and I have a problem with so many sole source. It's not the first time I mentioned this, but the other thing is, this is over $500,000. Did we do any consideration to look at the advertising firms to see what they would offer, how much they would charge for doing similar work? I guess, Ms. Mo.
But I think that's a good question, but these contracts are for the services, right? The medium in which we're implementing our advertisements, right? The radio, television, or billboards. So maybe that's a consideration, right? If we do go through a firm, is there lower costs? Could they help us in finding something smaller? But this seems like a little bit of a different approval here, what we're looking at to consider. But
So-
that's a good question.
So I'll begin, and Ms. Mo will happy to respond as well. So, Dr. Graham, I certainly appreciate and hear you on the sole source. Some of these items, for instance, television station, the reason they're sole source is there's only one ABC affiliate in this region. There's only one CBS affiliate. There's only one Fox affiliate. And they're the same with some of the print media. There's only, these are the reasons that many of these are sole source. Ms. Sanchez, you are correct. These are for the actual services. Should we choose to utilize a firm to look at this, they would then be contracting with the services and charge the college for their services as well as the services of the respective stations, radio. They may be able to negotiate a better rate. We've to date not seen that, but we're always happy to explore different venues of being able to stretch the resources of the institution as far as we possibly can. But there's no middle person between the college and the services currently. Had we hired a firm, one of the firms in town, they would go through and in addition to charging the college, also then negotiate a rate to go through these particular areas as a middle person, so to speak.
Thank you.
And I think all of us have, the best interest of the college at heart, that we want what's best at the best price. I just don't know if maybe in conversation with these companies that they would say, well, we can do this plus that, maybe something we haven't really looked at, and that it would be a comparable amount. I don't know that we have urgency to finish it now, but it's over 700,000, and not that I'm against approving it, I just think that we owe it to ourselves to look at those marketing firms or whatever you call them and see what they can do and how much they would charge, and then we would say, no, this is the best deal, or is it something that needs to be approved today, or could we revisit?
And then the question, I guess, is this part of the college's larger marketing plan, what you all had planned, with dates to roll out either for this academic year or for the spring year? Because I do think that if we look at a firm, it will take time, and I just don't want to tie up any, for me, my opinion, I don't want to tie up that momentum that I see already happening with the marketing that's out there. I see the billboards, I see the advertisements, I hear the radio spots, and I don't want to jeopardize that by not approving that. But maybe that is part of the long-term plan, and we talked about that during our strategic planning sessions too.
And I'm okay with that as long as, let's say that we approve this today, but that we are going to revisit with those marketing companies to see, is there more that we could be doing? And if so, or is there something they can do that we haven't included and that we could add to what we're doing? But I agree with you that the momentum is there and we don't want to delay it.
Just out of curiosity, Ms. Mo, have you checked with any marketing, or did you just? Yeah, did you check with any marketing people, or did you do this negotiation strictly on your own, or have you actually sought any kind of outside advice, consult, help?
We haven't done a request for proposals, but in talking to different firms, the charge for their services, the design and everything, and then adding in the media buy, that essentially then makes us the middleman, where if we're able to work directly with the news media, they give us some space in kind. Oftentimes, we're also able to appear on their programs. So having that direct connection and relationship with our news media is very valuable, because we have direct contacts, and then when we have current events and different activities going on, they know us well, and we're able to go in. You've been at many events this year where we've had, for example, the gala, we've had live broadcasting. We have them coming out and doing a lot of earned media for us. And because of those strong relationships we have that is partially created by those doing the media buys ourselves, we're able to negotiate that.
So in essence, you, on an informal basis, you really have established more or less a best value approach.
Yes,
Okay.
and we're always working with them to establish that, and also seeing where they can come in and partner with us.
And I think you've done an amazing job since you took over the marketing of the college. We certainly have seen a lot more presence of different kinds. But I still think that it'd be worth just checking with them to see, even if you take them this and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're gonna do, is there something more you could do and how much would that cost? Because they might have an idea that we haven't, you know.
Absolutely,
thought
we can
about.
definitely explore that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any more discussion?
Nope.
Call a question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 4.6, discussion and action on the approval to award a contract with Spectrum Paper Company Incorporated to provide copy paper for the instructional service centers and academic computing services labs for fiscal year 2019-2020 in an amount not to exceed $130,000.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Call the question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 4.8. I'm going to have to read an order after I read this. So, discussion and action on the acceptance of the 2019 certified appraisal roll with a net taxable value of property within the El Paso County Community College District of $44,155,315,329 as established by the Central Appraisal District. And the order is the order accepting the certified appraisal roll, whereas the Board of Trustees of said district desire that the appraisal roll for the district for the 2019 tax year be accepted and approved. Therefore, be it ordered by the Board of Trustees of the El Paso County Community College District that the appraisal roll for the district for the 2019 tax year be accepted as approved by the 2019 Appraisal Review Board and certified by the Chief Appraiser as follows. Net taxable value, $44,159,315,329.
I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
If we, just change that to the motion to accept, because we're accepting this, is my understanding. It's not an approval. Is that the difference, Mr. Ortega? Would it be a motion to accept versus approval?
That's correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Call a question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pina,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 4.9, discussion and action on the adoption of the 2019-2020 operating budget of $147,808,920.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can we have a presentation by Ms. Shaughnessy on the budget, please?
I can go back to my
No, we would like one, please. Thank you. You're ready to go. I didn't want to just leave you there.
Yes, ma'am. It certainly is. Good evening, Mr. Haggerty and Dr. Serrata, members of the board, members of the audience. Thank you so much for being here this evening and see the culmination of many months of significant effort in bringing this proposed budget to you. And so this is the time of the year where the next fiscal year proposed budget is adopted by the board. They have to do so by August 31st, so we are really getting close. So just for the benefit of the public, going over the budget development process for fiscal year 2019-2020 started in February of 2019. So as you can see here, we are in August, and so it's been, pretty much 7 months of really tireless efforts in reviewing the budget and certainly
propose a balanced budget, because this is always our goal, to propose a balanced budget. Part of the budget development process, obviously, is to look at our revenues. And so in assessing the revenues for the current fiscal year, we use that as the basis for the fiscal year, for the next fiscal year revenue projections. The fiscal year 1920 budget, expenditure budget, is based on a rollover of this year's adopted budget, with the flexibility for the executive level to reallocate within their respective budgets. So if there are needs within that area and there are some savings in some programs, the executive levels that are led by the vice presidents, they certainly can reallocate their budget as needed. There are always additional funding requests from the executive levels, and those are reviewed, are vetted, and they are prioritized for essential needs. Now, all of this process here was presented to the Board of Trustees at budget workshops that were held on June 29th and July 24th. And during that time, the strategic planning for fiscal year 1920 budget was heavily discussed. We provided some information on revenues, on planning for revenues, on planning for additional funding. And one thing that is critical for this next fiscal year, it does represent the first year of the 2021 biennium. This is the time of the year where we look at our state appropriation. And as Dr. Serrata had presented to the board back in July, the 86th legislature was actually very favorable to community colleges as a whole. As far as El Paso Community College was concerned, we certainly would have liked a little bit more money, but we did get $622,000 over the biennium, or $311,000 per year of the biennium. So that is included in our revenue projection for state appropriation. The second major source of revenue is tuition and fees before property taxes. So our tuition and fees revenue is based on the current enrollment for this fiscal year and the tuition rate schedule that was effective fall of 2018, meaning that in fall 2019, there is no increase in the tuition rate that was approved last fall of 2018. We're in the middle of a 2-year cycle. Property tax revenue, first main revenue source to support the budget. And the property tax revenue that is supporting the budget is based on the certified appraisal roll of $44.159 billion that you just accepted, to include new property of $785.9 million. Effective tax rate, so this certified appraisal roll then yielded, with the effective tax rate, the property tax revenue that is included in the revenue projections, and the effective tax rate of 14.1167 cents per $100 valuation is the tax rate that is being recommended for your adoption this evening as one of the items right after the budget. After planning for revenue, we look at what is it that we need to plan above the baseline budget. So this year, a little different for next year, and the reason why is because we have new facilities coming online. Trans Mountain Campus and the Valle Verde Transportation Training Center facilities are completed. And beyond those two facilities, additional facilities, we also have 3 other campus facilities that are coming online during fiscal year 1920. And that includes the Valle Verde additional classroom addition. It includes the Northwest Campus and the Mission del Paso facility. So we have to plan for operating expenses, and we have been planning for that for the last couple of years. And in doing so, we set money aside in the biennium reserve to make sure that we can fund those additional operating expenses that are mainly faculty and staff and utilities and any kind of supplies to support those programs. Very dear to our employees' heart is consideration of salary enhancement. And this board is always very gracious in listening to our recommendation, and Dr. Serrata makes recommendation every year to make sure that it is, we do compensate our employees and provide a salary increase, whatever that may be. And last July, at the July board meeting, this board approved a 3.5% salary increase for all employees across the board. And I am sure that everybody was very, very grateful for that action. Additional funding requests from executive level, those are requests that are necessary to support the programs for whether it is personnel or additional supplies. Cost of items do go up, and there are also some additional funding requests that we need to consider when it comes down to overhead accounts and also for facilities. So briefly on a projected revenue by source, this chart here shows how the revenue by source basically fund our operating budget. So with projected revenue sources of $147,808,920, this is the basis to fund the budget that it will come before you in just a little while. As you can see, property taxes is taking the lion's share of our total revenue sources at $61.9 million, or almost 42% of our budget, followed very closely by tuition and fees at $44.9 million, or 30.41% of the budget, and then in third place, state appropriations. State appropriations, which we still appreciate, we needed almost $32.2 million, close to 22% of our budget. The other revenue sources include the self-supporting program that here are shown separately because they are budgeted at break even. In other words, if the revenue does not come in at $4.4 million, then they don't expend $4.4 million. And those self-supporting programs actually support entrepreneurial kind of initiatives, and they are, like I said, budgeted at break even and support state and non-state funded programs. Other income at $3.7 million, or close to 3% of the budget. Support basically is composed of interest income and testing fees and other kind of billings, the billings for the dual credit to the public schools, to the high schools for early college and dual credit. Overhead recovery at 0.37%, or a little bit over $551,000. That represents those indirect costs that are recouped from grants and contracts. So we do get compensated for that administrative cost. So this is the $147.8 million. That is the revenue that is going to support the proposed budget that I'm going to be showing in just a minute. Wanted to kind of circle back with the baseline budget by function. This is your expenditure budget, and here this is shown by function because this is the format that is approved by the board in compliance with NACUBO guidelines. And just wanted to go over briefly what those functions mean. First and foremost, instruction at a little bit over $48 million. That is what, and it's what it should be. That's the highest expenditure in this budget, or 33.25% of the budget, and that budgets for faculty salaries and instructional supplies for state-funded programs. The non-state funded programs, the salaries and the supplies for the non-state funded programs are covered under public service at $3.2 million. Institutional support is also a very large expenditure of the total budget at $43.9 million. That includes all employee benefits, and we're talking about $13 million of that $43 million is actually employee benefits, and that is about 30.43% of our budget. Institutional support is pretty much your administrative support. It covers your data processing, your purchasing, the Board of Trustees expenses, your executive level salaries, supplies, so on and so forth, and anything like information technology. So everything that is really management of the college is covered under institutional support, except for the benefits that covers for all of the entire personnel area. Like to point out academic support, $16.5 million, or 11.47% of our budget. Those are the expenditures that are related to your dean administration, your campus administration, your library services, your counseling, so on and so forth. So it truly supports our students. Student services is another function of this budget at $9.6 million, or 6.72% of the budget. That represents those expenditures that are related to admissions, registrar, financial aid, so on and so forth. So again, direct support of students and their well-being. Operation and maintenance of physical plant, pretty self-explanatory. We have 6 locations that are spread out throughout the city of El Paso, and they really operate on a very, very tight budget of $10.6 million. This does not include any major construction by all means. That is budgeted in another fund. It is strictly, basically, your repair and maintenance, your grounds maintenance, and this is all of your personnel and your mechanical systems, so on and so forth. So that's about $10.6 million, as I mentioned, or 7.39% of the budget. Let's see. So self-supporting program here is just shown separately, and it's budgeted at the same level as the revenue. But again, those amounts are not expended if the revenue does not come in. Transfers, an important item, even though it's $7.7 million budget, or 5.34% of that total budget, very important because that directly supports our student for most part. There is one portion of that supports physical plant for any kind of minor renovation projects, so they're doing about $1 million, but the remainder is basically shared between your TPEG allocation, that is a mandatory transfer for financial aid for needy students. There's a transfer that goes to the Student Activities Fund that directly supports our students, especially Student Government Association. The Athletic Fund is also part of that transfer. And so, again, there is an instructional equipment component of that transfer that supports directly your technology and your instructional equipment and supplies. So as you can see, this is a very large budget, $144 million. This is the baseline budget. So this does not include yet the additional funding request that I'm going to show just in just a minute. There's a small budget here of research. Believe it or not, we do have a budget. We have some funds that is really matching funds for some of the grants we have that are conducted under research. And I'm talking about the NIH, the RISE grant, and a lot of those programs are under Dr. Alvarez's purview. So if you don't have any questions for this, I'll just move on to show you what the request for the proposed budget, or the basis for the total proposed budget of $147 million, $147.8 million. So as you can see, the baseline, this is the same information that I just showed a minute ago, except here we have allocated the self-supporting program to each function, because this is how it needs to be approved. So we're still looking at a baseline budget of $144.3 million. In addition to that, to arrive to the, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Why do we separate out the baseline budget and then the additional fund? Is there
Well,
a
because your
reason?
baseline budget is really what was adopted by the board
Okay.
last August
Okay.
of 2018,
Okay.
and we want to show the progression and the additional funds that you're adding to that baseline budget.
Okay.
You actually approved a $145 million budget, but because we had salary savings during the fiscal year, then that baseline budget, now that adopted budget, has become less than, and then becomes the baseline budget to move forward. So it's just to be transparent and to show you, we could have put everything in there, but we wanted you to see what we are adding to that baseline budget.
So for next fiscal year, then, our baseline would be that 147?
Yes, ma'am. Now,
Okay.
that is assuming you have no salary savings during that fiscal year, but we will. So most likely, that baseline budget, that adopted budget of 147.8 will probably be lower. And we always count on that because that helps us then fund additional needs without
But
having
it's
to
possible that we would get a lot of students, a huge enrollment, and then that wouldn't be.
That is
quite
correct. And if there is a huge enrollment, then, well, when it comes down to though, but I think responding to Ms. Sanchez's question, though, your baseline budget is most likely still going to be lower than the adopted budget. And then in terms of additional need, certainly we will come to you and say if we need to add additional faculty, we certainly will come to you and say this is the basis why we need additional faculty. And that would show under additional funding needs. So in terms of additional funding needs, so I talked about the 3.5% salary enhancement, and this is costing about $3,262,000. So that needs to be added to the baseline budget of $144 million. The must be funded. So the must be funded overhead and new facilities and the other funding requests from the executive level, those requests were presented to the board during the workshop. And if you would like to see the detail, I certainly can go to a to a slide that will show you that detail, but for the sake of time, I went ahead and combined those as amounts. So the must be funded covers funding for overhead accounts. So we're talking here about software maintenance. We're talking about some benefits like TRS, the TRS matching by the college with the state went up, and so we had to add another $130,000. New facilities. So new facilities, we have to fund the new facilities. We're talking about utilities. We're talking about additional faculty to support those programs. We're talking about supplies. So, so therefore, that is what it says must be funded. We really don't have a choice. So that amounted to about $2.1 million, $2,139,735 to be exact. And then the other funding requests from executive level, we had requests from instruction and workforce. We had requests from the marketing area. We had requests from student services. So those requests, which by the way, originally in June, they were about double this. All of these actually were double this that you see. And so the cabinet, Dr. Serrata, the budget office, we all got together and we basically sharpened our pencil. And we said, you know, that can be reduced pretty significantly. And we did. And this is what you see before you. Now, that is not to say that the amount we were asking for is not needed, but it will be needed at a later date. And we figured to fund this budget, we want to be realistic, and therefore we went ahead, and this is what you see here before you is what is realistic for this fiscal year in light of a facilities really starting on, except for 2 facilities, most of the facilities, the remaining 3 new facilities are going not to come online until, let's say, next spring. So we went ahead and prorated those costs, which meant that we were able to cut back on the amount of those additional requests. So if you were to add 144.3 baseline, plus the 3.2 in salary enhancement, the 2.1 in must be funded, the 1.1 in other funding requests, we're actually going to be over 3.1 million. We're going to be over the revenue of $147 million. Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
So in order to balance the budget, what we did is we went into the biennium reserve, and the biennium reserve was actually created for that purpose. It was created for the purpose to, in case we did not have additional funding from the state, in case that we had additional funding requests, like the ones that you see, but also to fund the new facilities. So we did have a biennium reserve about over $5 million, and we're reducing that biennium reserve by 3.1, which means we'll still have some money in a biennium reserve to help us next year when we come before you with a budget for the following fiscal year. So, with that said, the total proposed budget for your consideration is $147,808,920. And now, I took the liberty of, before I get to this slide, to also add a small presentation on the auxiliary fund for the benefit of our new board members, for the benefit of the public, so they understand what also when you're going to be approving the next item on the agenda that deals with the auxiliary fund, then you understand where we're coming from. But before I go there, I would be really remiss if I did not give some thank yous to very important people here. And I think everybody in this room deserves a round of applause, because all of us really have to work as a team to bring before you a proposed budget like this one. So certainly the budget office, I believe that we have some representative from the budget office, and so if they'd like to stand up, I think we have Efrain Mendoza, and we have Guillermo Loera, and Susana Renteria. So this is the team here that behind the scenes, Laura Tellez had to leave. She had another commitment, but under her leadership, you cannot imagine, and although the board has seen all the numbers that are compiled to arrive at this $147 million budget. And so I think it's important to recognize them. Under the leadership of Associate Vice President Fernando Flores, who also provides revenue projections and makes sure that the budget development process does flow nicely. Dr. Serrata, thank you so much for your support, your guidance, and the cabinet members. We know that this year was especially challenging because we had to go back and say, okay, we had to make some very drastic decisions. And of course, and the cabinet members and of course their respective teams, because obviously they had a part in that. Board of Trustees, thank you so much. You had to kind of, for your patience, because you had to listen to some very lengthy budget presentation, but it's certainly for your benefit, but we do appreciate your support for that. And who I have not listed up here, and I should be really I should be scolded by my staff, but my own office staff, Sandy McHale, Juanita Martinez, and Jackie Cabral, they help me with the presentations, make sure that they are as free of errors as much as possible, and they are always very professional. And of course, all the handouts that you receive, this is also, them spending the time on it. So, and Sylvia De Lucio in Mr. Flores' office also helped out. So, at this point, if you don't mind, I'd like to just talk about really briefly on the proposed auxiliary fund budget, because it is also an item this evening for your approval. So what is the...
Do we need to read this item in? We just read item number 4.9. If we're going to go into the discussion on the auxiliary item, do you want to read it? Judge? Go ahead. Suggestion? Yep.
You have a motion on 4.10. Can you read 4.10, Pam?
4.10 is discussion and action on the adoption of the 2019-2020 auxiliary fund budget.
Have a motion?
So moved.
You're a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Ms. Shaughnessy, can you please do your presentation on the auxiliary
With
fund?
pleasure. So what is the auxiliary fund exactly? People will say, what does that mean, auxiliary? So auxiliary enterprise, as defined by NACUBO guidelines, supports or basically exists to furnish goods and services to students, faculty, or staff, and charges a fee directly related to, although not necessarily equal to, the cost of the goods and services. And it is managed essentially as a self-supporting activity. And examples of those activities include residence halls. We don't have any, but you have a lot of colleges and universities do have residence halls, or they call them the dorms, or so on and so forth. We don't have those.
But we paid for them.
Food services, so your cafeterias, your food courts, college stores like your bookstore. At El Paso Community College, we have food courts, and we have the bookstore that is operated by Barnes & Noble. Faculty and staff clubs, so our constituency groups, so your classified staff association, your professional staff association, your faculty association, they do incur some expenses that are covered, that are covered under the auxiliary fund budget. We also have student, faculty, and staff parking, even though that is not a very popular revenue, but the bottom line here is we need to have that revenue to support renovation of our parking lots and certainly administer our vehicle registration process. And also other activities that are not funded by other sources of revenue, as you will see in just a minute. So I know this is a very busy, we tried the best we could to fit all of these revenues in one slide, and so just quickly, the vehicle registration. So you're going to see at the end of this presentation, and also included in the agenda as an exhibit, the auxiliary fund budget. And you basically, I went in order of all of these revenues and expenses and just briefly explain what they mean. Vehicle registration fee and parking fines, that provides revenue and it's fairly substantial because it is certainly substantially needed. We certainly are able to administer, security on our parking lots. Right now, it is $40 for the annual parking sticker. If someone wants to purchase one per semester, it is $30. The fines do vary by the type of offense that is perpetrated by the driver or whoever is parking the car. And so that vehicle registration fee does provide additional revenue. Bookstore commissions, our current contract is with Barnes & Noble through September of 2021. Beverage commissions, our current contract is with Pepsi Cola through May of 2023. We also get commissions from the different vendors that administer services at the food court. We know that it is a very important function for our students and staff to have certainly a food court. And so we have Smokies and Off the Grill at VV by the American Village, and the contract is through October of 19. Tassa's Coffees provides services at VV, Rio Grande, and Trans Mountain, and that contract runs through December of 2021. Subway is present at VV, and that contract runs through December of 2021. And most recently, we have the Basil Garden that is actually at 4 of I-5 campuses at VV, Rio Grande, Northwest, and Mission Del Paso. And that contract runs through December of 2021. We also get commissions from our vending machines, and that contract is with Borderline Snacks, and that runs through February of 2021. We also offer ATM services, and the contract is with Speedy Bucks, and it is Speedy, by the way, and it is through January of 2021. We are very lucky to have GCU on our premises at Valle Verde campus, and that space rental does yield some revenue, and that contract is through September of 2022. And very small fees, very small amount that we get, but we do have a return check processing fee of $38, and by the way, this is the amount that is charged by Wells Fargo. So we do have to charge a fee because we get assessed by the bank, but we certainly do not make any money on this return check processing fee, which is basically recoup our cost. So what does that revenue support? Well, I talked about vehicle registration expenditures, and that supports our vehicle registration process. Chief Ramirez is always very happy to get this budget because he basically needs to provide security. He needs to obviously pay the personnel that works the vehicle registration process. And we have to also maintain our parking lot. And so Mr. Lobato certainly looks forward to that application on an annual basis to make sure that our parking lots are maintained. I can tell you that $250,000 as a transfer that goes to the plant fund does not go very far. But we are doing the best we can with that amount of money. Staff scholarships are funded through the auxiliary fund. They cannot be funded through the operating budget. And so we are very fortunate to have staff scholarships for our full-time employees, dependents, and retirees that are allowed to take credit and non-credit courses up to an equivalent of 9 credit hours per person per semester. And that budget is about $300,000. Memberships here, those are the memberships that are not funded by the operating budget. And the reason why is because those memberships are paid to the Texas Association of Community Colleges, whom we work with to lobby with our state legislature, and therefore those lobbying expenses, well, they're not really lobbying expenses, it's a membership, but certainly they provide support when it comes down during the legislative session. Cafeteria maintenance and equipment replacement is also funded through these revenues. Utilities, we do charge the auxiliary fund for utilities that are incurred for the by the bookstore and the food court operation. So it's basically a credit. We credit our operating fund, and we basically then charge the auxiliary fund for those utilities, and it's very actually nominal. Staff educational assistance, we do provide some staff educational assistance, even if it's not very large. We still provide about $600 per year to reimburse our employees who are seeking education beyond their associate's degree. Auxiliary operation are other type of operations that are related to college and community events that can be funded by the operating budget. And I talked earlier about the allocation that goes to the constituency groups represented by classified staff, professional staff, and faculty association. And finally, vending commissions at the early college high school. Socorro ISD just receives a small part of that vending commission. So, auxiliary fund transfers is another part of the budget. As I mentioned earlier, we do transfer from the vehicle registration fund $250,000, which will be for 1920, to the plant fund for parking lot renovations. And the other transfer that also goes out of the main auxiliary fund is for preventive maintenance. So Mr. Lobato does benefit, and I say Mr. Lobato benefits, but we all benefit from this transfer, and this is earmarked for preventive maintenance. So when we're looking at the proposed budget for fiscal year 1920, you can see all of these revenues that I just mentioned, line item there, and the total revenue that is projected for next year is $1,582,171. And these amounts have been pretty much derived from what we anticipate for next fiscal year. The expenditures, as you can see, are also, total expenditures are $1,211,250, and then if you add your $325,000 transfer to the plant fund, then you get a budget that is going, where the revenue is going to exceed the total budget by about $45,000. You all can see that? Okay. You see this line item for the loan repayment from the athletic fund. Right now it's showing zero because we're waiting for additional revenues to come that way to the athletic fund so they can start again, they can proceed with paying back the loan to the auxiliary fund.
So it's not that they're delinquent.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
They're not delinquent, they just, I thought because we had zeros that they were delinquent.
No, it's just we're not budgeting anything right now. Certainly, we need to look at, they have looked at their budget very closely, and by next year, we'll be making a recommendation on how to get additional revenue for the athletic fund so they can turn around and repay the loan on an annual basis. So this is the auxiliary fund budget for your consideration, and thank you so much for your attention.
Now, just for the record, all these budget discussions that we have had all along have been open to the public.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more discussion? Call the question?
So we'll be calling the question first on item 4.9, the operating budget. Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
Ms. Pena?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Okay, on item 4.10.
Excuse me, I failed to do one very important thing, is to thank Mr. Juan Flores, who's our Director of Auxiliary Services. Juan, are you here?
Good job.
I know, Juan, you are here. Thank you so much, because he helped me also prepare for this presentation.
Item 4.10 is for the approval of the adoption of the auxiliary fund budget. Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
Ms. Pena?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Chair Haggerty, let me thank Ms. Shaughnessy for the great work that she leads within finance, within her division, and all the work that she does. That she didn't include herself on that slide for thanks, so I will do it for her. Thank you, Ms. Shaughnessy.
Item 4.11, discussion and action on the adoption of the order and the certificate of order setting the tax rate of 14.1167 cents per $100 valuation for fiscal year 2019-2020. And I have an order to read also. This is the order setting the tax rate. Whereas the Board of Trustees of said district has received and accepted and approved the certified appraisal roll for the 2019 tax year, and whereas the district has calculated those tax rates and made such other calculations as required by law, and whereas the Board of Trustees of said district wishes to adopt a tax rate, therefore be it ordered by the Board of Trustees of the El Paso County Community College District that the maintenance and operation tax rate for the district for the 2019 tax year be set and adopted in accordance with Chapter 26 of the Texas Tax Code entitled the Property Tax Code as follows. Operations tax rate, 14.1167 cents per $100 valuation.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Dr. Graham?
Aye.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
Ms. Pena?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Item 5.1, discussion and action on the approval to award a contract to Rabbit Plus Dado, Inc. for the renovation of the Makerspace project at the Viverly campus in an amount not to exceed $260,567.
Move to approve 5.1 and 5.2.
Second.
Item 5.2, discussion and action on the approval to enter into a contract with Lariat Builders Group Corporation to replace the H building roof at the Rio Grande campus in an amount not to exceed $162,150.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 5.3, discussion and action on the approval of expenditures with various vendors to purchase building materials, supplies, and/or services as needed for the district for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 6.1, discussion and action on the acceptance of the high school equivalency grant award from the U.S. Department of Education in the amount of $475,000.
Move to approve 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4.
Second.
Item 6.2, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant award from the U.S. Department of Education College Assistance Migrant Program, CAMP, in the amount of $273,443. Item 6.3, discussion and action on the acceptance of a grant award from Emergence Healthcare Network in the amount of $54,000. Item 6.4, discussion and action on the approval of the acceptance of a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS, in the amount of $49,913.
Judge, I have a question on item 6.5.
Okay. We're not doing 6.5.
Oh, we did? Yes, I thought she read it in. Did you read it
No.
in? I
I
apologize.
only read in through 6.4.
You did read it in? I'm sorry. That's the one I have a question on, 6.4. Excuse me, Judge.
Okay.
Yes, I do have a question on 6.4.
Okay.
Mr. Smith, on this particular item, how we're investing, we're hoping our seniors go out and utilize these services. Do you know how we are making our seniors aware of this service that's provided? Are we looking at potential maybe transportation for some of these folks that may be interested?
Ms. Sanchez, no, I don't think transportation is a part of that.
Okay.
But we do plan to get the word out. It's a fairly low dollar amount grant through word of mouth and through our senior citizen centers to provide this digital training for our senior citizens.
Are those via flyers, or is it electronic communication, which each of those senior
I don't know the
centers?
specific
Okay.
ways we might do that, but
That's
we do
fine.
have somebody in the audience that might be able to answer.
That's fine. I just wanted to.
We can let you know.
Yeah, that's fine at a later time. I just want to make sure that if we're targeting this very particular group, that they get that information out so that they can participate. So
Very
it's
good.
definitely a
We'll
great
provide you
service.
some information about that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions?
I have a question on regarding the seniors and the programs that we have, Dr. Serrata. Do we have a way that we look to see what's being offered for them or available for them year after year? There was a lot of discussion when we were working on the campaign and we visited the senior centers. There was a lot of lack of knowledge that they didn't know, what was being offered for seniors. And I'm just wondering, how much staff or how many staff people do we have working to kind of enhance those programs? Are we really doing any outreach? Because these people are voters and they're interested, but if nobody's sharing the information for them or with them, they're not going to know. Could we have maybe a presentation on what's done year after year to see if it is indeed something that's growing, or are we just paying people for doing the same thing year after year.
Dr. Graham, we certainly can do a presentation. I defer to Mr. Smith and his team on this particular area, but we will move forward with creating and bringing forward a presentation on the offerings as well as on the strategies that we're utilizing for this particular segment of the population. Very high voter turnout within this segment. I know that we have many different programming offerings that we provide at a low or no cost to many of these senior citizens, beginning with the one that comes to mind immediately is the Love Conference, among others that we provide. But I'm happy to work with the staff, Dr. Graham, and members of the board to bring forward a presentation on those areas.
And regardless whether they vote or not, this is a vulnerable population that we have out there that we should be targeting anyways, regardless of that status. And so I just want to make sure that would not be the only reason we would assist these individuals.
It isn't the only, but it is important.
Any other questions?
Not a question, Chair Haggerty, just a thanks to all the individuals under Mr. Smith's area that worked on these respective grants, totaling a significant amount of resources for the institution to utilize in providing services, well over $500,000, approaching $750,000. So
853,000.
thank you, Dr.
And if I might, I know we have Dr. Andres Muro in the room. We also have Oscar Baeza, Dr. Jaime Farias, and others that worked on these grants. So I would appreciate maybe a little recognition. If you participated in that, please stand and let us recognize you.
All right. Any more questions? Did we call a question?
Mr. Uxer,
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez,
Aye.
Mrs. Robles,
Aye.
Dr. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. Nahara,
Aye.
Ms. Pena,
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 6.5, discussion and action on the approval of the amended and restated Valle Verde Early College High School interlocal agreement.
Move to approve, and I have a question.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just wanted to ask you if there's any changes, Mr. Smith, from the previous one to this year.
Actually, there's been several developments for this particular one. This one originally was drafted in 2007 and has undergone a number of amendments since then.
Was there a reason why we didn't see a copy of it?
Back in that day, we weren't bringing these to the board, as it
Oh,
turns
no,
out.
I mean
Yeah.
the current one, the one that is the proposed one.
I thought you did get a copy of them.
It was emailed today,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know, maybe, I
No, I'm
didn't
not sure,
see it on
Dr. Graham,
here.
if it was emailed to the respective board members as part of the backup documents. I know Ms. Sanchez
I
requested
asked
it
for the- I
personally.
requested, when I do my review of the board book, I always request copies of those agreements and any and all amendments to do the review. I did receive a copy of that.
But only Ms.
I know,
Sanchez
just
did.
because I asked for it, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know
We
what
will
the
make
practice
sure,
is.
that is a very great point, and thank you, Ms. Sanchez, for requesting it, Dr. Graham. We will ensure that we forward these copies to you as part of the documents that are sent.
I can share with you briefly what the changes were. There was some language that incorporated OER, Open Educational Resources Materials, into the language. We also included a course equivalency guide that was part of a recent legislation that required us to comply with that. And then we clarified, or consolidated rather, all of the amendments from the previous version into the current one.
Well, to be very transparent, I was curious to look and see if there was anything addressed about the issue of the discipline with the students, because I brought it up at a previous meeting.
Well, I thought you might ask that question, and there have been some developments. So Dean Badillo and I met. We went through some of the procedures that we have. And so I think your question was, should we put language into these MOUs surrounding those students that are moved out of the high schools or where they're taking
Into
dual
the
credit to an
alternative schools.
alternative site? That is actually addressed in another procedure, the dual credit procedure. And so Dean Badillo is working with our distance ed department and others to go out and assess each of those alternative sites to further facilitate those students that are sent to alternatives so that they have the option or potential to continue their schooling.
I know that's a difficult situation. I realize that, but I just don't want to see them penalized more severely because they are early college students than we would somebody that is not an early college student, because that's an unfair practice in my opinion.
Yeah, and one of the big challenges is the teacher credentials of the alternative sites. So if the student's in an online class, it's very easy for us to facilitate their continuing the coursework. If they're not, and we were relying on the original high school sites teachers to teach those classes, when the student goes into the alternative site, it gets a little tricky.
It's very tricky, but I think we can put some of that responsibility on the ISDs to, have a plan of how it's going to be addressed.
Absolutely.
I think that was a good idea, and I was a little confused when that question came up the last time. So that's why one of the reasons why I asked for a copy of this particular agreement, to see how that is fleshed out a little bit. And there is language in the interlocal agreement that does talk about we serve at-risk students. We serve a certain sector of those particular type of students. So absolutely, I think we need to be mindful that we are not penalizing those students and they have that opportunity, because that is the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish with these students and this particular agreements and who we service. So thank you, Dr. Graham, for bringing that up.
The other area that merits some discussion, and I know early on we had this discussion, but I don't know that we made any gains on that, because as you know, in the ISDs, staff are required to go through criminal background check and all that, to ensure that certain things happen or don't happen. But with the issues of having these young people, underage people on the campuses, and we don't have that same requirement on the college staff. And I know you probably know, it was Dr. Gonzalez that we were dealing with a situation last month, or was it early this month? Where there's already an allegation and we're having to address it of a possible inappropriate behavior when you've got a youngster and an adult. So somewhere in the MOUs, we're gonna need to maybe look at the language of how we're going to address that, both on the ISDs and on the college side. New challenges.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nájera.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 7.1, discussion and action on the approval to purchase from Caldwell Country Ford 2020 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles for the EPCC Police Department in an amount not to exceed $115,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? I have a question. Have we looked at, see if we can go in with an agreement with the sheriff's department or police department? They purchase a lot more of these than we do, and you can probably get a break on the cost. What the county found out is when the constables bought their cars, they added their cars to the sheriff's, and they saved a tremendous amount of money. Have we looked into doing anything like that?
Want to see if I can defer to Mr. Gallardo?
Or chief.
On the, or chief, chief might have this. Yes. Thank you, chief.
I don't, that doesn't mean you have to follow it. You can still try to get a better deal.
Good evening, everybody.
Chief.
No, sir, we have not. We've always purchased the vehicles directly from the contract that we have, the DIR contract. But we can certainly do that if you want.
Just an idea to save some money.
Yeah, we'll research it.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind adding a few vehicles as long as you reimburse them for the funds.
Right.
Would that delay the need that you have right now?
I'm
Chief?
sorry?
Would it delay, would it set you back if we waited for you to look into that and then approve it at the next board meeting, or do you need to have it approved today?
Right now, yes, it would, yes, ma'am, it would delay it, because, again, I would need to engage either the police department or the county, the sheriff's office, and then I don't know how long that would take, so.
Yeah, but something to look for, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Call a question?
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Ms. Pena.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Item 8.0, community services, none.
Go into executive session.
Item 1.3, the Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons: consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation, or for any purpose authorized by law, discussion about the value or transfer of real property, discussion about a prospective gift or donation, consideration of specific personnel matters, discussion about security, personnel, or devices, or discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce that it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. Discussion regarding EEOC charges and administrative complaint filed by Rhonda Brown pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding EEOC charges filed by Jose Salazar pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding lawsuit styled Joyce Cordell versus El Paso Community College, cause number 2001-9 DCV 1001 pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding negotiations between the college and Texas Tech relating to the lease and post-transfer ownership of the El Paso Public Television Foundation, KCOS, pursuant to Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding the legal rights and obligations arising under a certain lease agreement between the college and the Secretary of the Army pertaining to real property located in Fort Bliss, pursuant to Section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. Discussion regarding quarterly legal update of all EEOC charges and lawsuits pending against EPCC pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code.
Okay, we're back from executive session. Next board meeting will be September the 25th
Yes, 25th.
at 5:30.
September 20th.
And I believe we have two other items that we need to discuss. Do you have a motion, Ms. Sanchez?
Do we need
Want
to
me to
read it
read
in?
them again?
Can you read it in, please?
Yes, sure. Item 1.9.3 is the first item, and it is discussion and action for the board to pass a resolution to authorize the president to enter into an interlocal agreement for the college's participation and intervention in Public Utility Commission of Texas PUC proceeding related to the sale, transfer, or merger of El Paso Electric Company to Sun Jupiter Holdings LLC and IIF US Holding 2 LP, entities related to JP Morgan's Infrastructure Investments Fund, PUC docket number 49849, joint report and application of El Paso Electric Company, Sun Jupiter Holdings LLC, and IIF US Holding 2 LP for regulatory approvals under PURA Sections 14.101, 39.262, and 39.915.
Thank you, Pam. I move that the board approve and authorize Dr. Serrata to enter into an interlocal agreement and also to sign a resolution with other El Paso County school districts and like governmental entities to participate and intervene in Public Utility Commission of Texas proceeding related to the sale, transfer, or merger of El Paso Electric Company to Sun Jupiter Holdings LLC and IIF US Holding 2LP, entities related to JP Morgan's Infrastructure Investments Fund, PUC docket number 49849, joint report and application of El Paso Electric Company, Sun Jupiter Holdings LLC, and IIF US Holding 2LP for regulatory approvals under PURA sections 14.101, 39.262, and 39.915, and further authorize the college president to to hire special counsel at the law firm of Hush Blackwell to represent the El Paso Community College in this matter. Further, that the Board of Trustees authorize the El Paso Independent School District to be the fiscal agent for the group representation to commit an amount not to exceed $75,000 to pay for the legal fees, expert fees, and expenses in this matter. Is that correct, council? Yes? Thank you. That's my motion.
Do I hear a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Uxer.
Did you second it, Dr. Uxer?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? Call the question?
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Ms. Pina.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye.
Would you like me to read item 1.9.4?
Yes, please.
Discussion and action to authorize the president to execute a certain option purchase contract with B&G FC Option LLC as agent for Elise Enterprises LP, DEA-BO Holdings LP, Frank Financial Partners LP, and Tiberius Investments LLC, collectively B&G, for college to acquire the current right of B&G to purchase from Horizon Regional Municipal Utility District a 6.99 acre tract of real estate situated in the C.D. Stewart Survey Number 324, El Paso County, Texas, and located immediately north of the Mission Valley campus and adjacent to the west side of the driveway entrance.
Can I hear a motion?
Motion made.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Mr. Uxer.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez.
Aye.
Mrs. Robles.
Aye.
Dr. Graham.
Aye.
Ms. Nahara.
Aye.
Ms. Pina.
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty.
Aye. Okay, no other business? I have a motion for adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Motion.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.